Welcome to HFY Legends. In a galaxy ruled by fear, one race refused to bow. The mighty Korak Empire crushed civilizations without mercy. They believed humans were weak, disorganized, doomed to kneel. But they didn't know Captain Ilara Stone. When the Korak demanded surrender, she answered with fire. Her words sparked a war. Her choices awakened ancient powers dormant for eons. Now, across the stars, a greater threat rises, one that no army can defeat. The architects have returned. One human, one decision. Stand tall, or kneel. This is the story of resistance, unity, and the power of choice. Let's start today's story. Watch the glowing hologram map showing the enemy fleet. The alien ships were huge and powerful, slowly moving toward Earth's space. These were not just any aliens, they were the Korak Empire, the galaxy's oldest and strongest military race, and they were coming to conquer humanity. Ilara was not afraid. She had seen war before. She had lost friends, family, and even her home during the first Korak attack. But now, she was no longer a survivor. She was a warrior, a protector of Earth. The message from the Korak general had arrived only minutes ago. It was short, cold, and filled with arrogance. Humans will kneel, the Korak general said through the holoscreen. His voice was deep and rough, and his face was covered in scars. His name was General Threx, feared across the stars. Ilara stood tall in front of the screen. She was calm, confident, just she smiled and replied with one sentence, "Kneel, first." The bridge crew froze for a moment. Then one by one, they smiled too. No one had ever spoken to a Korak like that. No one had dared. But Ilara was not like others. She was known as the Iron Flame across human fleets. Her ship, the Valkyrie, was small compared to Korak dreadnoughts, but it was fast, smart, and built by humans who never gave up. Now she was leading a fleet of 20 human ships to stop the Korak invasion. Lieutenant Marco, her second, walked beside her. That was a bold answer, Captain, he said, still shocked by her reply. Ilara didn't look at him. Her eyes stayed on the alien fleet. "It's not bold if it's true," she said. "Let them come." The human fleet moved fast through the dark space. Ilara knew they couldn't win by size or firepower. They had to use speed, surprise, and human will. The Korak always expected fear. They believed humans would beg or run. This time they would get fire. Far away on the Korak flagship Vorax, General Threx growled in anger. His long fingers crushed the steel cup in his hand. "No one speaks to the Korak like that," he shouted. His officers stood silently. No one dared to speak unless told. Threx had destroyed entire planets. His face had the tattoos of 9 fallen races. He believed humans would be the 10th, but the human female, she didn't fear him. "Prepare the attack," he ordered. "I want her ship broken first." The Korak fleet adjusted course. 40 ships, each 3 times the size of a human destroyer, locked onto Ilara's fleet, their weapons charged. Red lights glowed across the starfield, but humans were already moving. Back on the Valkyrie, Ilara gave her orders quickly. "Split into 3 formations," she said. "Send decoys left, real ships to the right, and tell the Nightshade to cloak and strike from behind." "Yes, Captain," Marco replied. The human fleet scattered like birds. The Korak didn't expect this. They fired at the ships with fake signals. By the time they realized the trick, 2 Korak cruisers had already been hit from behind. The Nightshade, a stealth corvette, launched EMP bombs that fried enemy systems in seconds. Ilara's eyes narrowed. "That's 2 down, 38 to go." The crew cheered, but Ilara knew this was just the start. The real battle was yet to come. In deep space, near the planet Talrose 7, the humans made their stand. Ilara's fleet used the planet's magnetic storms to hide their moves. They zipped in and out of clouds, launching hit-and-run attacks. The Korak was strong, but they were slow and heavy. Ilara used their size against them. "Target their engines, not their hulls," she told the fleet. "A dead engine is a dead ship." Human missiles flew through space like arrows. One by one, Korak ships started losing power, drifting like broken bones in the stars. General Threx was furious. "These humans fight like rats," he shouted. "Cowards." But it wasn't cowardice. It was smart. It was survival, and it was working. Suddenly, a blast shook the Valkyrie. "We're hit," shouted Marco. "Minor damage to the lower hull. Shield is at 40%. Ilara held onto the railing. "Hold course, we don't stop." Another blast. A Korak destroyer had locked onto them. It was faster than the others. "We have one on our tail," the weapons officer yelled. Ilara's eyes narrowed. "Spin the ship. Give me manual control." "What? Just do it." The ship flipped in space, moving into a spiral. The Korak destroyer followed, but too late. It realized it was flying into a trap. Ilara aimed the ship's plasma cannons, herself, and fired. The enemy exploded in a flash of blue fire. The crew cheered again. "You're insane," Marco said with a grin. "No," Ilara replied. "I'm human." After 6 hours of battle, the space near Talrosa 7 was filled with floating debris. 15 Korak ships were destroyed. 10 more were crippled. Only 5 human ships were lost. The rest held their ground. General Threx watched from his burning command room. "We underestimated them," one of his officers said. Threx growled. Then we won't again. Call for reinforcements. I want 10 more warships from the main fleet. And what of the human female? Threx stared at the holoscreen where Elara's face had last appeared. She will kneel, he said, but deep down, a small part of him wasn't sure anymore, because for the first time in Korak history, humans didn't run. They made the galaxy bleed. Captain Elara Stone stood quietly in the command center of the Valkyrie. The air smelled like hot metal and ozone. The ship was damaged, but still flying. Sparks flew from a nearby panel as engineers rushed to fix the systems outside the window. Space was littered with burning wreckage pieces of Korak warships, still glowing from the fight. The humans had won, but Elara wasn't smiling. Come back, she said. Lieutenant Marco nodded. They already are. We just picked up a signal. Korak reinforcements. 10 more warships, heading this way. Elara clenched her jaw. General Threx wasn't going to retreat. He was angry now, and a furious Korak was more dangerous than 1,000 laser beams. We need a plan, Marco said. Elara turned to face her crew. We have more than a plan, she said. We have something the Korak don't. The crew leaned in. Hope? Someone asked. No, Elara said with a small grin. A secret weapon. Deep beneath Earth's surface, inside a hidden military base in the Arctic, a group of scientists worked inside a massive cold chamber. In the center of the room stood a dark, smooth object the size of a small tank. It wasn't human technology. It pulsed softly with blue light. Symbols glowed on its surface, alien symbols, unknown to any human, but one thing was clear. It was powerful. Dr. Malik, lead researcher on Project Helix, stared at the object. The core is ready, he said to his team. Send the signal to Valkyrie. Tell Captain Stone it's time. The room filled with tension. They were about to give the human fleet something that might turn the tide, or destroy them all. Elara received the message on a secure channel the moment she saw the file. Marked Project Helix, active. She stood still. She had only read about the weapon in secret reports. No one really knew how it worked, only that it was alien. Found deep in the ruins of a crashed ship on Mars. It was old, very old, and not built by any race known to the galaxy. Is it safe? Marco asked. No idea, Elara said. But I know one thing, it scares the Korak. How do you know that? Elara turned toward him. Her eyes were cold. Because we stole it from them. The 10 Korak warships arrived in perfect formation. Each one was a beast of steel and fire. Their engines burned red, and their cannons could shatter moons. They were ready for revenge. On the bridge of the Korak flagship, General Threx gave the order, crush the humans, leave nothing behind. But as the Korak ships approached Talrosaban, something strange happened. The human fleet didn't run. They didn't hide. They simply stopped. Floating in the center of the battlefield, unsheathed and unmoving, was the Valkyrie. Threx laughed. Fools. He didn't see the small device being loaded into the Valkyrie's reactor chamber. He didn't know that the glowing alien core Project Helix was being connected to the ship's systems. Elara stood in front of the main screen. Begin fusion, she ordered. At first, nothing happened. Then the Valkyrie began to glow. Soft blue light spread through the ship's body. The damage started healing. Metal sealing, panels fixing, energy restoring. The crew watched with wide eyes as the ship came alive. What is this? Marco whispered. Elara didn't answer. Her eyes stayed fixed ahead. Outside, the Korak warships opened fire. Massive plasma blasts streaked toward the Valkyrie, but just before they hit, the ship vanished, gone, like it had blinked out of space. Rex leaned forward, confused. What trick is this? Then suddenly, the Valkyrie reappeared. Behind them, the Valkyrie fired a new kind of weapon. A beam of energy so bright it turned one Korak cruiser into dust in a single second. The rest of the human fleet moved like lightning. Project Helix had upgraded their systems to boosting shields, weapons, and engines. The humans were faster than ever before. The Korak formation broke apart. Impossible, Threx shouted. But it was happening. Human ships danced through the Korak lines, hitting and disappearing, like ghosts in the dark. The Valkyrie appeared. In front of the Korak flagship. Elara sent a message. This is your only warning. Leave, or kneel. General Threx bared his teeth. I will never kneel to a human. Elara raised one eyebrow. Then burn. The Valkyrie's main cannon powered up. The alien core glowed hot blue. With a thunderous blast, it struck the flagships, front shields breaking them in half. The Korak flagship shook violently. Sparks rained from every wall. Alarms screamed. Officers fell to the ground. We're losing power, one of them shouted. Threx grabbed the side rail. His face twisted in fury. Retreat, he finally shouted. Call back the fleet. But it was too late. The humans had already surrounded them. After 20 minutes of battle, the sky was quiet. Again, 8 of the 10 Korak reinforcements were gone. The remaining 2 limped away, their engines burning, their pride shattered. On the Valkyrie, the crew stood in silence watching the retreat. Elara breathed slowly. It wasn't a full victory, but it was a message. Humanity was not weak, and it would never kneel. Marco walked up beside her. We turned the tide today. Elara looked at the alien core still pulsing in the engine room below. No, she said. We just began the storm. Because, far away, in the deepest parts of space, something else was watching. Something older than the Korak. And now, because of Project Helix, it knew Earth was awake. The machine woke up. It had slept for thousands of years, floating in the black void between galaxies. Its shell was cold and silent, but deep inside, strange lights began to pulse. Something had touched its signal. Something familiar, something dangerous. It was the same energy that once destroyed entire star systems, the same energy now pulsing inside a human warship. The machine had no name, it had no feelings, it only had one purpose: wake the others. Captain Alara Stone didn't know it yet, but her choice had sent a ripple through the galaxy on the Valkyrie. Things had changed. Her crew now moved faster, their weapons were stronger. The ship responded like it was alive. Project Helix had become part of the ship itself, like it was born to be there. Lieutenant Marco watched the data stream on the screen. Ilara, he said, this tech, it's rewriting our systems. Even our AI is changing, it's learning. Ilara looked at the glowing engine room through the glass wall. The alien core pulsed calmly. It didn't look dangerous, but power often came in quiet forms. Keep monitoring it, she said. Don't touch anything unless I say. Yes, Captain. She trusted the weapon for now, but she knew power always came with a price. On the Korak homeworld, General Threx stood in front of the High Council. He was ashamed. He had never been defeated in battle before, but now, because of one human woman and her strange ship, he had lost over 20 warships. This is not just human defiance, Threx said. They have alien technology, forbidden technology. The council chamber was quiet. The Korak High Elder finally spoke. You believe they have activated the remnant core? Threx nodded. Yes, the same energy we tried to hide. The same weapon our ancestors feared. If you are right, the Elder said slowly, then we are no longer facing just humans. We are facing the past. Back in human space, Ilara met with Admiral Harker over a secure link. You broke the Korak line, Harker said with a proud smile. You bought us time. They'll return with more, Ilara replied. And we're not ready. The Admiral nodded. That's why we're moving to Phase 2. We want you to lead it. Ilara raised an eyebrow. Phase 2. We're going to build more, Harker said. More ships like Valkyrie, more cores. Ilara's stomach tightened. You want to copy Project Helix? Yes, we need weapons the Korak can't match. Ilara looked away. She remembered how her ship had vanished from space, how it reappeared with deadly force. It hadn't felt human, and maybe it wasn't. I'll help, she said at last. But don't forget, sir, we still don't understand what we're using in the deep edges of space. The ancient machine finished sending its signal. In different corners of the galaxy, other machines woke up. Some were buried beneath ice. Some were locked inside dying stars. Some floated alone in the dark. All of them shared the same message. The core has been touched. The humans have opened the gate. We must return. Ilara stared at a strange signal blinking on her screen. It wasn't Korak. It wasn't human. The pattern was ancient, older than anything in the human database. Where's it coming from? She asked. Everywhere, Marco replied. It's not a normal signal. It's like it's bouncing across the galaxy. Ilara zoomed in on the source. Her heart skipped. It's pointing at us, she whispered. Suddenly, the ship lights flickered. The alien core inside Valkyrie pulsed once, twice, and then the ship's AI voice spoke in a tone no one had heard before. Incoming transmission. Unknown origin. Opening link. What link? Marco said, alarmed. We didn't open anything. The main screen turned black. Then a shape appeared. It wasn't a face. It wasn't a ship. It was something else. A being made of energy, floating in darkness. And it spoke. You were not the first to touch our flame. Ilara stepped forward. Who are you? We are the architects, the first builders, the ones before war. Marco whispered. It's talking about the core. Ilara nodded. What do you want from us? You have awakened a weapon meant to sleep. Long ago it ended empires. It ended us. Ilara felt cold. Then why was it left behind? To remind, to warn. But you are not afraid. You use it. There was silence. So now we return. The screen went dark. Ilara stood in her quarters, thinking. The message kept echoing in her mind. We return. It didn't sound like a promise. It sounded like a threat. She tapped her comm unit. Marco prepared the fleet. I want all captains on call. What's going on? He asked. We just made contact with something older than time, she said. And I don't think it's happy. Across the stars, the architects began to move. And for the first time in history, the Korak and the humans would face the same fear. Not each other, but the ones who came before. Across galaxies, ships picked up strange patterns, deep pulses in the void. Too perfect to be natural. Too old to understand. The architects had awakened, and they were coming. Captain Ilara Stone stood at the center of Earth's new defense command, orbiting just above the moon. Human leaders, military officers, and scientists surrounded her. All were silent as the same message played over and over again. You touched our flame. Now you burn with it. Prepare for judgment. The room was cold. What does it mean? Someone finally asked. Dr. Malik, head of Project Helix, looked pale. The core wasn't just a weapon, he said. It was a signal, a key, a warning system. We triggered something, asked Admiral Harker. No, Malik said quietly. We invited them. Ilara crossed her arms, and now we face them. Far out in deep space, 3 architect vessels arrived. They didn't look like normal ships. They were massive and silent, smooth black shapes that moved without engines. Light bent around them. Stars faded near them. No life signs, no radio, nothing but pressure. Like the weight of a dying sun. One Korak scout ship made the mistake of getting close. It vanished in a second. No explosion, no sound, just gone. On the Korak throne world, General Threx watched the architect footage in silence. This is beyond war, one of his commanders said. Threx didn't answer. His hand was clenched tight. He had spent his life fighting, leading armies, crushing weaker species. But these things, they were not enemies. They were doomed. We must speak to the humans, Threx finally said. The room froze. Speak to the humans, the commander asked. After what they did to us, Threx turned his red eyes toward him. They didn't cause this. They lit the fire, yes, but the architects were always coming. We just didn't know when. On Earth Station, a signal came in. From the Korak. The room filled with tension as the face of General Threx appeared on the screen. I don't come to threaten, he said. I come to talk. Ilara stepped forward. Then speak. Threx looked directly at her. We were enemies yesterday, but today we face something older than both of us. Your people woke the storm, but together we may survive it. Ilara studied his face. For once there was no pride, no anger, just fear hidden under steel. You want an alliance? She asked. I want to live, Threx said, and so do you. Within hours the first joint human-Korak war meeting began. It was strange humans and Korak sitting at the same table. But survival has no enemies, only chances. The architect ships were already moving closer. They don't respond to messages, Ilara explained. We've sent hundreds, no answer. They don't need to talk, Threx said. They've already judged us. We need a plan, Admiral Harker said. Dr. Malik stood slowly. There may be something. When we first studied the alien core, we found coordinates. What kind of coordinates? Ilara asked. A location deep inside a dead star system, Malik said. We think it's the origin of the architects, a place where their first machine still sleeps. Can we reach it? Threx asked. Yes, but no ship can survive that radiation, unless it's powered by the core. Everyone turned to Ilara. She already knew what they wanted. The Valkyrie would have to go alone. Hours later, Ilara stood on the bridge of her ship. Once again, outside, human and Korak engineers worked together to upgrade the systems. They added heavy armor, new shields, and the best tech from both civilizations. It still didn't feel like enough. You sure about this? Marco asked beside her. No, Ilara said, but someone has to try. If the architects have a weakness, it'll be at their heart. Marco nodded. Then let's go. The Valkyrie jumped into the dead system. The moment they arrived, everything felt wrong. The stars were dim, the space was thick, like it resisted movement. And at the center, floating above a dying red sun, was a massive object. It looked like a city, a dark, floating fortress, bigger than any planet, made of strange shapes and spinning rings. Light moved through it like water. It was alive. Ilara stared. That's it. Suddenly the ship's AI spoke again. Warning. External presence detected. Architect signal rising. The fortress turned slowly. And then it spoke. You enter the place of beginning. You are not welcome. You will leave or end. Ilara stood tall. I came to understand you. The voice responded. Understanding is over. Now comes silence. From the fortress, a beam of light shot out. The Valkyrie dodged, barely escaping the blast. We're under attack, Marco shouted. Shields at 70%. Return fire. Ilara ordered. The Valkyrie launched its upgraded weapons, but the fortress didn't flinch. Its surface absorbed the blasts like water drops. We can't beat this thing head-on, Marco said. Ilara's eyes scanned the strange patterns of the fortress. Then we go inside. Using the architect code found in the core, Ilara guided the Valkyrie toward a small opening in the fortress wall. It opened like a mouth. They entered the heart of the storm inside. Lights danced around them. Symbols floated in the air. It was beautiful and terrifying. And in the center they saw it, a glowing sphere of energy. The first architect core, the source of all the others. Get me a scan, Ilara whispered. Suddenly, the ship's AI said something strange. Recognition confirmed. Human interface accepted. What? Marco asked. The lights around them moved, and then Ilara felt something in her mind. A voice, a memory, a question. Will you kneel to survive? Or stand and fall? Ilara clenched her fists. I will not kneel, she said softly. The light stopped. The sphere pulsed once, and then everything went black. Space that stretched forever. There were no walls, no sky, no ground, just endless light. Her body felt light, like it wasn't real. She touched her face. It was still her, but it also wasn't. A voice echoed all around her. Welcome to the core. Where am I? She asked, inside the architect mind. Back on the Valkyrie, Marco and the crew panicked. Alara's vitals are stable, but she's not responding, said the medic. She's linked to the core, said the AI. She is. Inside. Marco slammed his fist on the console. Inside, what? The architect network. No one moved. The ship was still floating inside the fortress, but something had changed. Lights across the fortress walls had turned blue, waiting. Watching, all they could do now was pray she came back. Alara took a step forward. The light around her shimmered suddenly. A figure appeared. It looked like a human woman, tall, glowing, eyes full of stars. But Alara knew it wasn't human. You're an architect, she said. The figure nodded. We once had form, now we are thought code pattern. Why bring me here? To test, to understand, to judge. Alara narrowed her eyes. Judge, what? The architect's voice was calm but powerful. Your kind, your hunger for power. You touched the core, you used it for war. Alara didn't step back. We used it to survive, and that is the beginning, the architect said. It always begins with survival, then power, then destruction. Alara shook her head. We're not like you. No, but you walk the same path. The space around her changed. Now she stood in the ruins of a city burning, broken. Human buildings, human bodies. This is not real, she whispered. It is your future, said the architect. Double quote. No, it's your fear. You carry a flame you do not understand, the voice said. It will burn you, just like it burned us. Alara looked at the wreckage. Then help us stop it. The architect paused. Why should we? Alara walked through the act. Because we're not like you. We fight, yes, but we learn, we adapt, we stand together. You kneel to nothing. The voice said. Alara turned toward the light. That's right, because kneeling doesn't save anyone. It just gives your future away. The scene changed again. Now she stood in front of a giant mirror. In the reflection, she saw herself, E's glowing face cold, body armored like the architect's. Power flowed through her. This is what you will become, the voice said. You will lead, you will destroy, you will rule or be ruled. Alara looked at the mirror and punched it. The glass shattered. I choose something else, she said. I choose freedom. The architect's voice paused. You would risk extinction over control. Yes, Alara said. Because we are human, we fall, we rise, but we always choose. Back on the Valkyrie, the crew watched as the architect. Lights began to flicker. Marco leaned forward. Something's happening. The ship's AI spoke softly. The judgment is in progress. Inside the core, the light around Alara dimmed. You speak with strength, said the architect. I speak with truth, she replied. Then one truth remains. A beam of light appeared in front of her. In it, she saw earth green blue, alive. Then fire swept over it. Cities vanished. Oceans boiled. All because of the architect weapons. Make your choice, the voice said. We will give you power, enough to protect your kind, but you will change. Alara understood the offer. They would make her part of them, half human, half architect. A guardian, but no longer herself. She stood silently for a long time, then whispered no. With that word, the light cracked. The world of the core trembled. You refused the gift, the voice said. I don't need to become you to stop you, Alara replied. I just need to stay who I am. The voice fell silent, and then, after a long pause, then go. Alara's eyes opened. She was back on the Valkyrie. Marco grabbed her shoulder. Captain, I'm here, she said. What happened? Alara looked at the main screen. The architect fortress was silent. No weapons, no threat. They let us go. But outside the fortress, something else was changing. The three architect ships had stopped moving. They floated quietly like sleeping giants. And then they turned. Not toward Earth, but toward the Korak. Homeworld. Alara stared at the movement. They're changing targets. Marco frowned. Why? Alara stood up slowly. Because I refused their offer. And now they want someone else to accept it. Red skies flashed with lightning. Their capital Vartalak was built on blood and fear. The Korak had never bowed to anyone. Never lost a war until now. And now, the architects had arrived. 3 massive ships hovered in orbit. Silent, watching. No message. No weapons fired. Just a presence so powerful it felt like gravity itself. General Threx stood on the balcony of his command tower, staring into the sky. They're not attacking, his second-in-command said. No, Threx replied. They're waiting. Waiting for what? Threx's jaw tightened. For us to kneel. A strange signal entered Korak command. It wasn't words. It was thoughts, images, feelings. A single message sent across every screen and every mind on the planet. Accept our fire, become more, or be forgotten. Some Korak fell to their knees, screaming. Others roared in rage. Threx did neither. He simply watched. This is the same offer they gave the human, he said, and she refused, said his officer, and they spared her. Threx's eyes narrowed. No, they redirected their aim. They want us now, in deep space, on the Valkyrie. Alara watched from her ship's main screen. She had returned from the core change, but still human. The architect fortress had let her go. For now, they're testing us all, she said. Marco looked confused. But why offer the same choice to the Korak? Because power always tempts those who love it. Do you think Threx will take the deal? Ilara stared at the screen, silent for a moment. Yes, she said quietly, but not for the reason we think. Back on the Korak world, fires broke out in the cities, riots, panic. Some wanted to fight the architects, others wanted to submit. Their greatest leaders argued in the halls of command, and Threx stood alone. He walked to the ancient war chamber. Korak rulers made final decisions. He placed his hand on the stone slab, and the chamber lit up. I request full command, he said, planet-wide. The elders watched him. You seek power in a time of fear. No, Threx said. I seek survival. He was granted control, and immediately he sent a message to the architects. The architects answered this time. A single shape appeared in the Korak skies, just as it had for Ilara. Not a person, not a ship, a presence. You are strong, it said, but incomplete. Accept our gift. Rise beyond limits. Become like us. Threx stared at it. If I accept, he asked, will my world be safe? Yes. If I refuse, we will erase you. Threx looked down at the planet below. People, his warriors, his home. And then he said the words no Korak had ever spoken before. I accept. Instantly, light poured from the sky. Threx screamed as his body lifted from the ground. His flesh cracked, his skin burned. But he did not die. He transformed. Armor formed over his bones. His eyes glowed like stars. Symbols appeared across his skin. He was no longer just Korak, he was something more. Ilara felt it the moment it happened. On the Valkyrie, the alien core inside the engine glowed red. Something's wrong, Marco. I said no, Ilara whispered. Something's changed. The ship's AI spoke. Architect, hybrid detected Korak origin. Authority level, rising authority. Marco asked. Ilara stared at the console. He's becoming their weapon. Back on the Korak world, the skies cleared. The architect's ships retreated, and Threx stood alone in the ruins of his city, his eyes glowing with power. He looked at his people. Some cheered, others ran. He raised one hand with a simple thought. A broken war machine nearby rebuilt itself, metal bending, sparks flying, weapons returning to life. They were in awe, but Threx was silent, because deep inside, something whispered to him, kneel first, and rule forever. Later that night, Ilara called a secret meeting with Earth and Korak commanders, those still loyal to the old ways. They've made him their puppet, she said. He's not the same. One Korak commander growled. He still leads our people. He is strong. He is dangerous, Ilara replied. He'll turn that strength against anyone who resists him. Marco stepped forward. And we can't stop him. Not with normal weapons. Then we use what we have, Ilara said. The core gave us a choice. We refused. Now it's our responsibility to stop what comes next. And what came next came fast. Threx's fleet returned to space, but not to defend, to conquer. His first target was a neutral world once left untouched by both human and Korak war. A peaceful place. He destroyed it in one strike. No warning, no message, Marco said, reading the report. He's proving himself. To the architects, Ilara said. Showing that he's loyal, she stood up. This ends now. On the bridge of the Valkyrie, her voice was firm. Prepare the fleet. All allies, human Korak, whatever we have left. Against him, Marco asked. He's more than one. Ship can handle now. I know, Ilara said. That's why we won't just fight. She looked at the glowing core in her ship. We'll awaken something even the architects fear. Fully alive led a growing fleet through space. Every planet that resisted was burned. Those who submitted were forced to kneel before him. He didn't call it conquest, he called it order. And behind him the architects watched in silence. Their first true success in centuries. But not everyone bowed. On Earth's moonbase, Captain Ilara Stone stood in front of a war table, her voice calm but hard. We've seen what happens when you kneel. Now we stand. All eyes were on her. Human soldiers, alien allies, and even Korak rebels who had refused Threx's command. He is not their leader anymore, said one old Korak warrior. He is their weapon. Ilara nodded. That's why we won't just fight Threx. She pointed to the glowing alien core in a containment field nearby. We're going to destroy the architects. Ilara returned to the Valkyrie. The ship had changed. Its systems now ran smoother than ever. It wasn't just faster, it was aware. Connected. Project Helix had grown. The alien core pulsed softly in the engine room as she approached. The ship's AI spoke in a deeper, more human voice. Captain, you are ready. Then let's finish. Their plan was simple and suicidal. A small team of ships led by the Valkyrie would dive into the architect fortress. Again, this time not to learn, but to end. They had found a weakness. Deep inside the fortress was a hidden coda, shutdown key, but only someone linked to the core could reach it. That meant Ilara had to go in alone. Threx knew they were coming. From the bridge of his own architect-enhanced warship, he watched their fleet approach. He smiled. She returns. His voice echoed across his ship like thunder. His crew bowed to him in silence. She refused the gift, he said. Now she will kneel. The final battle began. Space lit up with fire, lasers, missiles, explosions. Human ships, Korak rebels, and architect machines all fought across the stars. But the Valkyrie didn't stop. It shot straight into the heart of the architect fortress. Blasts, diving through wreckage, flying through fire. Inside the glowing black holes of the fortress, Ilara moved fast. The voice of the architects returned. You cannot win. He has accepted what you refused. Ilara kept walking. No, he gave in. That's not the same. She reached the core chamber. There it was. The architect. Source. The heart of the storm. And in front of it, waiting with Threx. He stood taller than before, covered in glowing armor. His voice was deep, full of power. You came to die. No, Ilara said. I came to remind you who you were. Threx laughed. I was weak, now I am eternal. She stepped forward. You were strong. Because you chose your path, now you're just their puppet. He growled. They gave me power. No, she said. They took your freedom. Threx attacked. He moved fast, faster than any being she had ever seen. Blades formed from his hands. His punches shook the floor. But Ilara was ready. Her body moved with the core's rhythm. She dodged, she struck, and she spoke. You want everyone to kneel. Threx. She punched his chest plate. Then kneel first. She slammed a small device into his armor, a signal scrambler. Eyes widened. What the architect's signal inside him broke for a moment, and in that moment, Threx remembered. He saw his past, his people, his pride, his freedom, and he fell to his knees. Ilara rushed past him to the final chamber. The architect code floated before her, millions of glowing symbols. Alive and waiting, the voice spoke one last time. End this, and all of us will vanish. Even the power in you. Ilara placed her hand on the core. I never wanted your power. She pressed her hand into the light. The fortress screamed. A sound like metal and memory tearing apart. Across the galaxy. Architect ships froze, then fell on the Valkyrie. Lights blinked and went dark for 3 seconds. Then the crew cheered. Architect, systems are collapsing. Mako shouted. We did it. No, Ilara said as she walked back onto the bridge, tired but alive. We chose. General Threx was found floating near the ruins of the core chamber. Still alive, still breathing. No longer glowing. His power was gone. His eyes were full of silence. Ilara stood above him. We're not enemies anymore, she said. He looked up at her, and for the first time in his life he nodded. Weeks later, the galaxy was rebuilding. The architects were gone, their machines silent. And their lessons burned deep into history. Humans and Korak signed peace for the first time, not because they loved each other, but because they understood each other. Ilara sat quietly in a quiet garden on Earth, far from space, far from war. Mako walked over with 2 cups of tea. You ever think about what would have happened if you had said yes to the architects? She smiled slightly. No. Why? She looked up at the stars. Because I didn't kneel. Humanity rose, not because it was stronger, but because it refused to kneel.